We have horrible news coming out of Carolina today that 3 of their top guys are going to be held out with injury. This is going to play a major factor on the Canes going forward in a tight race for the Metro. In this video, we're going to break down what they need to do to stay on top and when will we see these guys return. So we're not going to want to miss this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we get into it, Darius, we got to say that 91% of people watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you're not subscribed and you want to keep up to date on the latest NHL content, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, let's just jump right into it here. I mean, we got a big report coming out of Carolina today where Rod Brind'Amour said that Frederik Andersen, their top goalie, is going to be out way longer than week to week, which makes it seem like it's looking at month to month at this rate. And they also say Pyotr Kochetkov, the guy who's been picking up the slack for Freddie during his injury, is doubtful for tomorrow's game against Ottawa, but is not considered to be a serious injury, which I guess it is bad news, but also good news. You're not losing both your goaltenders for a long time. And they also say here the hope is for Seth Jarvis, who is dealing with an upper body injury right now, to return to practice next week. And Darius, I mean, before we break it all down here, I just gotta pose it to you. I mean, Carolina Hurricanes fans right now, they gotta be feeling the hit right now. Having 3 of their top guys go down, it's gotta suck to be a Canes fan right now.
Yeah, I'm sure with this news dropping that Hurricanes fans are sweating a little bit, but I think at the same time they know that Rod Brind'Amour and company are going to be able to steer them in the right direction. And they have, they retooled on the fly as a whole to get away from the injuries for a second. This is a team that I thought personally might be done outside of their window, and they've retooled on the fly and they still look fantastic. But this is seriously bad news for them, and not just for the team. I feel terrible for Frederik Andersen. I really feel terrible for this player because he is a great goaltender on paper. Injuries aside, if he is to stay healthy, he is one of the better goaltenders, I think, in the entire NHL. And unfortunately, health and his health issues, whatever it may be, the last couple of years, injuries, all of that, hasn't been on his side the last couple of years, and I feel for the guy. And they really need this goaltender. They need him, and they do have great depth goaltending, which we'll get to in a second. But I do feel bad for him, and I think that the Canes are a better team with him. And obviously, he missed significant amount of time last year too. So again, it looked like it was going to be week to week. Maybe you're not panicking too much, but now it's month to month, and you have to wonder, what is month to month? Is he going to be back in January? Is he going to be back in April? Will he be ready for the playoffs, right? You have to ask these questions because of his history with his health the last couple of years. But fact of the matter is, I feel bad for him, and I think that, the Canes are a much better team with him, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. I mean, when Montreal isn't in the playoffs, which the last couple of years they haven't been, the bunch of jerks down in Carolina are the team that I like to root for. I think this team is a very fun team to watch, and I think, with these injuries here, we are going to dive into it a bit here now. It is going to be tough for them to stay up, but I don't think it's too far of the realm of possibility for them to keep a playoff spot. If we just take a look at the Metro standings right now, they are in second, right behind the New Jersey Devils. But if you look here, I mean, the race is really tight. I mean, they're at 22, then you got the Rangers at 21, Washington at 21, and the Islanders, who have a great team, at 18. So you can't afford to be dropping games, especially this early into the season, because it's going to affect how these placements in this division is going to play out. Obviously, you want to be up near the top, but if they can just hold the playoff position during these next couple of weeks and over this next month, I think this will really help this team, especially when you said, like, the playoff push comes and they're looking to get into that hunt. And we're just going to go into it. Obviously, Frederik Andersen is looking to be out month to month at this rate. Kochetkov is not dealing with a serious injury in air quotation marks, so we don't know what that means. And, they're the top 2 goalies for the team right now. I mean, in 4 games, Frederik Andersen's putting over a 900 save percentage. Kochetkov, in the absence of Frederik Andersen, has looked really good for this team. I mean, he's putting up an 897. He's almost up in that 900 marker. But then you also have a guy here in Spencer Martin, who is going to really have to pick up the slack here for this team right now, Darius. I mean, when you have 2 of your 2 tandem both go down, I mean, that's got to be really tough to deal with.
This is tough for this team. Like you said, the Metro this year is a different beast. But if you take a look at the standings, I mean, you have to keep in mind that the New Jersey Devils did start the season earlier than everyone else, and they have played a lot more games. But fact of the matter is, if you blink in the Metro, you might find yourself in a wild card spot very quickly. It's a really good division this year, along with the Atlantic division. So they have to continue to win and string together wins. And I think that they can do that because obviously Kochetkov, he's been great as well, and he won't be out long term. This is just something that they're going to have to weather for maybe a game or two or into next week, and he should be back. But if you look at Spencer Martin, there is a silver lining here. You don't have to dip into your AHL kind of back pocket there with your goaltending. You have an NHL goaltender in Spencer Martin. He's played NHL games. He has NHL experience, and you can't really, say the same for the AHL, right? With the guys that they would have to call up in relief of, obviously, if they didn't have Spencer Martin there. So I do think there is a silver lining there with that. Obviously has NHL experience and may be able to help them, but still a tough situation nonetheless. And they're going to have to go into next week and continue to play the way that they are playing. And they're going to get some help on the way as well. So that is a silver lining for the team.
Yeah, definitely. And Rob Brindamore, as I already said, they're going to have to recall somebody for this up their next game because both goalies are going to be out. So it's looking like he's saying that Spencer Martin is going to get the nod in Saturday's matchup. But when you look at the AHL, I mean, the guys down there, I'm sure they're solid goaltenders, but they're not really jumping off the page at you when you look at them. I mean, you have a guy here in Kashyev who has an .892 save percentage in the AHL. Through 7 starts this season. So that's kind of the guy I'm looking at that's probably going to get the call up here just because, the numbers are looking a bit better on his sides than they are for Peretz here in the AHL. I mean, he's at an 8.25 through 11 starts, so it's looking like Kashyev is going to get the call up here for Carolina. Probably it's not going to look like he will get an NHL start. Just looks like they're going to need a backup for Saturday night's game. But I mean, Darius, when you look down in the AHL, usually you have some guys down there that when they're ready to come up, they'll sometimes steal the show. I mean, Kochetkov did this for this team just a couple seasons ago, but now it's looking like they don't really have much ammo, I guess, down there in the AHL in terms of goaltending.
No, not at all. This is not like a Dustin Wolf situation in Calgary, let's say, where last year you knew that you had a guy down there in the AHL who's putting up great numbers and eventually he's going to come up and make a difference. They don't have that situation, unfortunately, in Carolina right now. They have 2 guys who are okay for the AHL, but if you're in a pinch and 2 of your goaltenders get hurt, they're not going to be difference makers in the at the NHL level, which is a really good thing that they have Spencer Martin because now, thankfully Kochetkov will be back soon, or at least it seems that way. So he can kind of weather the storm a little bit, and then Kochetkov will come back in, and then you can have Spencer Martin back up until Frederik Andersen is ready to go, whenever that is. But yeah, it's a tough situation in the AHL, and when you have to go maybe 4 or 5 goaltenders deep in any organization, you're probably going to run into problems. But hopefully the Canes don't have to run into that one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, we're done with talking about the goalies here. We got to talk about Seth Jarvis. I mean, this guy just signed that big contract this offseason and has been out with an upper body injury. And if we just bring up the stats, he has been the 4th highest point getter for this Carolina Hurricanes team so far this season. Obviously, Marty Necas has been going crazy with 25 points in 15 games. But, when you lose one of your top 5 point getters, I mean, that's a hard hit as well as losing your 2 best goaltenders. I mean, this is going to be a very, very hard storm to weather for this team, but I do got full faith in Brindamore. I think he's a great coach, and he's gonna find a way to get some wins here.
Yeah, I think the Carolina Hurricanes embody like the next man up mentality to a T. I think that's exactly what the team is. So I think that they're going to find a way to get it done and to continue, doing what they've been doing so far this season. And that is playing really well, a really high caliber of hockey. And when you look at the goal scorers, not even goal scorers, sorry, point scorers for the Hurricanes this season, the top 3 are the usual suspects. I would think Necas, of course, going off this year, right? Already 25 points, but the top 3 are their usual suspects. But now you have Seth Jarvis kind of coming into his own. He got that new contract, like you said. He's a really important part of this team. So when he comes back, that's certainly going to help the goal scoring and might shelter, what's happening with the goaltending a little bit if they can outscore their opponents. So they're going to need him back, and he's really coming into his own as a, dare I say, superstar in the league, or, a low-key superstar, an elite level talent. And he's going to be, I think he can be a point of game player. I think he's a guy that, a lot of people are going to have to learn his name and what his game is about, because He is a budding star in this league, so they're going to need him back. Obviously, top 5 in scoring, and he's been great so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be a very interesting situation to follow here. Whether they can keep this up, whether they can go out and get a few wins in a time where a lot of people probably won't expect them to get a few wins. So it's going to be fun to watch here how Carolina handles this situation, and hopefully that Kochetkov isn't out longer than a week, because then you're kind of getting into the mix there, where you gotta rely on these AHL guys that might not be ready at this point in their career. So we're hoping everybody gets healthy and everybody comes back with a chip on their shoulder, ready to go, especially Frederik Andersen. I mean, like you said, I think this guy is one of the top goalies in the league ever since leaving Toronto. Sorry, throwing a shot at you there, Darius. But
he was good in Toronto too.
He was good in Toronto, but when he left, I mean, he went off for this Carolina Hurricanes team. But I hope he comes back, because he's one of my favorite goalies in the league, and I just hope that this isn't a very, very serious injury where maybe we're talking about his career being on the line here, because hearing that he's a very far away from week to week isn't a very good thing to hear. But we gotta give a big shout out to all you Canes fans here, all you Caniacs. We love your guys' support that you've been showing here on the channel. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And if you want to check out a video we did the other day or today, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host Darius. Keep your stick on the ice.